Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Brilliant. I couldn't hear that. Good afternoon. Perfect. I'm glad that we are all well fed and are full of energy. So, in the next 15 minutes, what I'll try to do is I think in the first half of the session today, we spoke a lot about the what and the why of AI. Why is it important? What is it going to help us with? And in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'll talk a little bit about, and hopefully for the next 60 minutes after that during the panel discussion, we'll delve into the how. Like, we know what we need to do and why do we need to do it. Let's talk about how are we going to do that? How are we going to get there? What role do technology will play there? What role will data play there, getting you there? So again, my name is Unni Pillai. I lead the technology team here in AWS Philippines. I've recently moved into the country, so I'm still figuring my ways out. Getting here in the morning was a bit difficult. I live in the Taguig, so I'm still learning my ways. So please forgive me if I say something that is inappropriate for what we are going to do today. 2024 was when everybody started downloading ChatGPT in their mobile application. They all found it extremely useful. What they did not figure out was, how am I going to use it in my business? How am I actually going to use this to make money? How am I going to put generative AI and AI in general to drive some revenue, go and ask for money from my board, and motivate my teams to build technology? So there was a lot of POCs that happened. And I think towards Q3, Q4 is when organizations realized, what are we going to do with it? And the question came to, how are we going to do with it? So that's why I very strongly believe 2025 will be the year of production for many generative AI use cases that we have heard, that we have seen, and still we have seen in the first half of the day today. There are still new things coming every day, right? DeepSeek announced something, the next day Alibaba announces something. I'm sure today there would be another announcement and Monday there would be another one. How do you make sure that your technology platforms are built properly to adapt to the change that needs to be done to get these things working, right? But this year, while everybody knows that we will be in some form or the other, I think one of the panelists earlier said, in a room full of C-suite execs, 90% people believe that they are already using AI, but what is actually worrying them are some of the things that you see on the screen today. How do I prioritize my projects? There are 20 people from my leadership team have reached out to me and said, I want to run these 20 projects. But which is the one that is going to deliver the most impact from a revenue standpoint, most impact from a customer experience standpoint, most impact from a risk standpoint? Can I take an out-of-the-box model that somebody is giving me and run my use case on it? Or should I be able to customizing it to make it work for my business better? And if it is successful, how do I roll it out to millions of my users? Imagine a large bank using generative AI for customer service. It's okay when they pilot it with few hundred people, few thousand people. What if a bank with 5 million users enables it to everybody? The cost to serve needs to be cheap enough for it to make sense. How are you going to do that? How do you manage the risk? What if there is a cybersecurity issue there? And I'm sure we're going to talk about that in the panel later. How do you get there? What are the things that you need to make sure that you are able to move fast, and getting and using AI doesn't slow your business down? I think what we need to take home today after the event is everybody should go back to your respective organizations and really start asking, what are the 4 things? Don't go and try to boil the ocean. Think about 4 things that you're going to have a very tangible impact in your business or in your respective things that you do. So if you're a government agency, think about the people that you're serving. If you're an education institution, think about the students that you're working with. If you're a commercial organization, think about the customers, be it a B2B or a B2C organization, how it is going to impact your organization and the revenue that it drives or the outcome that you're supposed to drive. So if you think about it, in my view, everything in generative AI, maybe I might have missed it, but most of it falls under one of these 4 categories of innovation that you'll be driving in your organization. you'll be using to create new experiences, innovative ways to interact with your users and your customers. You'll be using it to improve your, number one, your employees' productivity. The other way to saying it is to make sure that your employees do not waste time doing stuff that is not relevant to your business. And second is enable better experiences for your users or your customers which will indeed lead them to be more productive. A lot of people, when they think about generative AI, they don't think about the insights part. Everybody is super excited about image generation, write me an email to tell my boss that I'm not happy with my pay kind of conversations. But people don't think about the insights that generative AI can give you. So when you go home, choose the generative AI capability of your choice, the one that you have on your phone, the one that you have currently access to. Go to any publicly traded company's website, download their annual report, put it into the generative AI model that you're using, and ask it questions about that company, and you'll be surprised how much insights you can get out of that. If you can take last 10 years of data, put it in there, and ask it to analyze it, crunch that information, and give you the insights, you'll be super surprised. Use that information to create and find opportunities in your business on what are the areas that you can optimize. So this can be used to find revenue leaks. This can be used to find areas that you're not compliant on. This can be used to build capabilities in your organizations that you've been talking about for the last 10 years that you need to. And this is just from the annual report, right? There are other areas to do that. Like take a history of people behavior and people pattern that you know in your organization through 360-degree feedback or through performance reviews, and take that information and put it for the last few years into insights and try to see what it tells you about your people, your skills in your team, and what you need to do to fix it. And the last one, I think we have all spoken about it, is creativity. This allows us to create stuff, enable our artists, enable our influencers to drive more revenue, more usage, and do better things for their ultimate end users. So if you think it from any business, right, like I don't want to talk about, I have spent most of my time in banks, so I try to tie back my examples to banking. But this is applicable in any institution, any commercial institution, any government institution that you might be working with. This is a usual 4 parts of the customer journey. You acquire the user or the customer, you onboard them, you service them, you retain and grow them. These are the 4 ways how you can put, like, as I said, go back home or go back to your office tomorrow and start thinking about what are the 4 areas that I want to innovate in. Think of it, put this lens on it, put this as an underlying framework on which you want to build it, right? How am I going to increase my efficiency of my customer acquisition? How you do that is by building something like a customer 360 or prospect targeting, right? To make sure that you're not reaching out to the right clients who have higher propensity to change or convert. Once the customer has converted, once the customer decides that they want to work with you, how are you going to make sure your onboarding is seamless? So I've experienced, since I came to the country, I've experienced 2 types of banking. One, with a digital bank where I went in, I downloaded the app, and in the next 25 minutes, my account was ready. The only thing that I was waiting for was my debit card, which took another 1 week to arrive. The other bank where I went to the branch, I sat there for 1.5 hours waiting for my application to be processed. I filled out the information there, and then once I filled the information, it took them 3 days to open the account and another 2 weeks to ship the debit card. Which experience do you think I want? Let's take it to the next level. Today, banks in Philippines do not offer Apple Pay as an example, right? But imagine that technical capability is enabled. I would be able to, the digital bank that I opened the account with, would be able to give me a debit card into my phone's wallet at the end of the 25th minute. Imagine that. Versus 3 weeks it takes me with a regular bank to go and open an account. So imagine about how you can make that onboarding faster. Servicing. When I have an issue, I call the servicing hotline. If I have to wait for 13 minutes for a call center agent to pick up the call and answer, that is not good customer experience. How am I going to make things omni-channel? So I start a transaction on my phone. By the time I've called the call center, it's already 2 days. The system should know why I'm calling. What is the probable reason why I'm calling? What is the next step that the agent or the system needs to do to serve my request? Think about those things. Ultimately, when the relationship is older, the business has to think about, is it worth retaining this customer? Or what do we need to do to retain this customer? How do we grow the relationship with this customer? You do that by personalizing the experience for the customer. You reduce the churn, identify that is the customer interested in somebody else's, some other organization for the same services that I offer. Gamify it. Make sure that they feel fun working with you, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and have the coffee and say, today I'm excited to bank and transfer money to someone. Nobody does that. Banking, for that matter, telco, everything should be invisible. But how do you make an impact is when they are doing it, you reduce the effort and the ease of doing it. That's when they enjoy it. So I'll leave with that. But then these are respective use cases in those 4 areas that you can think about. So there are chatbots, virtual assistants, there's summarization, and a bunch of other things. And we'll cover this as a part of the panel. But what many people don't get is they think everything is about generative AI and the model that you choose. I think definitely, yes, model is important. And and the best thing about it also is that every day more and more efficient models are coming. Now there's a new thing called as model distillation. You don't want a super big model, which is expensive, which knows everything. What you want is a super distilled model that is trained on the kind of information that kind of workload that you're trying to drive and the use case that you're trying to solve. But you can't do all of that because that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real thing is underneath it, the data foundations in your organization. So you should also go and think about it. Do I have the right data management capability? Do I have the right governance and compliance capabilities in place? Do I have the right scalable and technical solutions that allow me to do data integration with internal data sources and external data sources that my business and my clients need or your customer base needs? So going back to generative AI again, if you have the right data foundations, you will be able to personalize the generative AI models to work for you. That is a generative AI model that knows your business, understands your customers, has information about transactions, has information about usage, and then do it. How do you do that? You do it with RAGs, retrieval augmented generation. It's basically, think of it as a pocketbook that your model is carrying that has everything that the model needs to know to make it relevant for your users and relevant to you. Fine tuning is a way of saying, this is a generic model, but I'm a bank, and this is the financial compliance data that I'm passing to it. Use this, refine it, and that's when the model becomes a specialist in that area. And then continuous pre-training is the model in few cases will be wrong. So you need to continually train it to make sure that it becomes more and more better accurate and is timely and is up to date. So 3 takeaways from the data foundations thing that you should think about is it should be comprehensive. You should be able to deal with structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, vector data, anything of that sorts. It should be integrated to your existing systems, your external systems, and the ability to offer your services and your data as API, provided it is in the realm of the regulatory and the compliance world that you work in. And then obviously it should be governed properly. You should be able to, even at a row level security, you should be able to say that who can access what information, what attributes do they have access to. And again, I go back to where we started. What kind of use cases do you start with? How do you prioritize use cases? So this is a very simple spider chart that we use, like spider web chart that we use to identify which kind of use cases are more, right? What is the feasibility of doing a use case? How much money am I going to spend to do that use case? So build one for each of your use case and then take a decision on which are the ones that you want to go. Don't build or buy stuff that is not generic, because once you buy generic stuff, there are enough customization capability and plugins available that will allow you to customize and drive it all. Know that one size will not fit all. Just because one bank used it and you are an insurance company, you might not be able to work with it. If you're a college or if you're a university, it might not work for you. Or if you're a government agency, what work for a bank will not work for you, because now you're dealing with 10x the scale. So the cost will never work out for you. And listen and enable. Invest in transforming the skills of your people. Make sure that they feel that you're investing in their capability. Build the right data governance capability in your organization and train your people well in advance. Don't spend too much time thinking about how are we going to do. Start small, fail fast. If you start with a big project and fail big, you're not going to get the money next time from the board or from your finance team or from your CFO to do the next experiment. So start with small experiments, incrementally grow them once you learn the basics of how to run before you walk. So with that, I'll hand it over to the MC to take us through the next panel session. Thank you very much.